How much anxiety have you experienced in the last week? How many self-improvement videos have you watched in just the last week to try and fix that anxiety and build more productive habits? Go ahead, comment down below. And how much progress have you made? If it's not much, then the reason may not be what you think. Of course, being able to wake up feeling joyous and ready to start the day off with a bang is something that nobody would deny. If you're trying to break bad habits, it feels really good once you're finally able to do it and focus on stuff that actually brings meaning and value to your life and other people's lives, right? Of course, replacing bad habits with atomic ones and finally feeling like they're helping you get where you want to be is in itself a great way to tackle anxiety. But if you can't get there, well then it's possible that you're overwhelmed and just not using the right strategy. And since I identify as being on the autism spectrum, I would say this is even more important for people who identify as being autistic like myself. This is because just one of many symptoms of autism spectrum disorder that indicates that somebody is probably on the spectrum is the inability to force their brains to shut down no matter how hard they try. I've struggled with this issue myself for years, in particular in the year 2024. I want to do so many things with my life and I wanted to achieve the things on my bucket list so badly that I could never stop thinking about them and trying to decide the best path to take. Because of all those thoughts racing through my mind, my brain just wouldn't shut down even when I tried to, which would lead to frequent nights of poor sleep and night awakenings followed by misery and lack of motivation by the next morning. I would also watch so many self-improvement videos to try and fix the bad habits that were the result of me trying to escape my anxious thoughts instead of facing them head on and just doing stuff no matter what. However, it was basically information overload and I was unable to apply 99.9% of it in my daily life because I was so lost and I just didn't know what to do. This in turn created a ripple effect that only made my anxiety worse. But then, after I learned to start facing my anxious thoughts head on instead of trying to evade them, I began to see improvements in my quality of life, and I discovered what might just be the first key to finally changing your life for the better if watching self-improvement videos isn't working for you. You see, the reason you may be too afraid or anxious to make those changes in your life is because of how this is thinking. From birth, our minds are programmed with a set of beliefs that we carry with us throughout our entire lives to ensure our survival. And those beliefs are often the very things that hold us back and tell us what we're capable of, even if we dream of achieving something much greater. Then, as you go through life and you have experiences and behaviors, those become routine and shape almost everything you say and do on a daily basis. And once we become comfortable with being in our comfort zones, steps outside the comfort zone are what cause anxiety and cause us to be afraid of failing, especially if this is something that our heart so deeply desires. Which is why, even if something we deeply desire is outside our comfort zones, we stay in our comfort zones because our brains are telling us to take the path of least mental resistance. In the long term, though, this leads to wasted time, missed opportunities, and wasted potential. And now, I'm going to show you what I believe is the first thing you should do to build the best version of yourself instead of watching self-improvement videos endlessly, especially if you have autism like I do. Otherwise, your journey of becoming the best version of yourself and living up to your true potential will get you nowhere. A lot of people overthink things, and a lot of people certainly do struggle with anxiety. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, in the United States alone, at least 1 in 13 people struggle with anxiety, with 8% of children and teens suffering anxiety disorders. Furthermore, research from Britain shows that the majority of autistic adults struggle with mental health issues such as anxiety, something I know all too well. And let me know if you can relate to this. Have you ever had that feeling where you're just too afraid to jump in because your brain was telling you that it's too scared to finally get started with doing that thing you really wanted to do for so long? If yes, then I'm pretty sure I have the answer. And that is, facing those anxious thoughts and tackling them head on like the Philadelphia Eagles kicking Kansas City's ass in the '59 Super Bowl. Okay, enough of the bad jokes. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Now, I have a personal story that ties into this, which shows just how especially important this is for people with autism who are looking to improve their lives. So, I've struggled with anxiety issues for years. Ever since COVID-19 first shut down the world in 2020 up until late 2024, I was experiencing a wide range of symptoms that result from a generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD for short, including worrying about almost every minute of every day, about everything from my dreams for the future and my desire to go back to school to my desire to travel the world. And instead of facing those problems head on, I basically ignored them for the better part of 4 years, while I tried to focus on working towards various dreams and goals of mine that have come and gone throughout the years. But this was counterproductive because there could be no real progress towards my goals in life without facing all of my worries and my anxiety. And because of that, I fell into downright misery and a constant feedback loop of procrastination, doom scrolling, and other terrible habits. But then, when I started doing cognitive behavioral therapy, also known by its abbreviation CBT, I finally began to see improvements in my life. And a significant part of that came from holding myself accountable and being given one very simple task to do on a daily basis. Furthermore, I found that once I was openly facing my emotions and journaling down anything that was causing me anxious thoughts, I even got to the point where I didn't really have to use that strategy so much anymore because I wasn't having nearly as many anxious thoughts in the first place. Now, I'm going to tell you how you can apply this small but essential strategy in your daily life. Plus, if you stick around until the end of this video, I'm going to give you a free resource that I used during my time doing cognitive behavioral therapy that you can use for tackling your anxious thoughts too, as you can see I've done here. Now what you want to do is you want to create a table with 9 columns, and we'll start with 4 rows for now. And the topmost row is where we're going to put the information that I'll be giving you. And the columns should have the following information in order from left to right. So on the leftmost column, you'll want to put down the date and time of the thought that you're worrying about. To the right of that, you'll put the situation or the trigger that causes you the worry. Next, you'll put the what if that comes to mind when you worry because of that specific situation or trigger. To the right of that will be the thought or worry itself. Next, you'll want to rank the anxiety that this causes you on a scale of 1 to 10. To the right of that, you'll identify this as either a current problem of yours or a hypothetical situation. Next, you'll want to identify whether this cycle of worry about this particular thought is unpredictable, novel, or ambiguous. Then ask yourself, is it unfair? Are you worried about a negative outcome? Or do you think you wouldn't be able to cope with this outcome? And finally, identify your belief in response to said worry. Finally, write down 3 worries per day. Then, stop and read what you just wrote and take some time to process it. Do this for days or weeks at a time and just face your anxious thoughts instead of ignoring them, and you'll start to better understand yourself as a person and see results in no time. Okay, so now that you've journaled down all of your thoughts that are causing you anxiety, this is the point where it's time to get started with becoming the best version of yourself. Every time you feel the urge to procrastinate or skip a task because you're too afraid of failure or you have some other excuse, do not let that stop you. Just do that task. An important lesson I've learned is that oftentimes in life, you just shouldn't care what other people think of you. Likewise, when it comes to changing destructive thought patterns, which is the very first step you should take to change your actions and ultimately change your life, you also should not care about the negative or doubtful thoughts that are racing through your brain nonstop and making your day a living hell. You've got this. So forgive yourself for your past mistakes and regrets and vow to do better going forward. Then, just jump in and get started with that journey to your ideal self. Whether it's breaking all of those bad habits once and for all, or seizing opportunities to become a better writer, whatever your goal may be. Never pass up any opportunities that come knocking on your door. There's no such thing as perfection, at least right away. Just get started. Now, as for the idea of journaling down your anxious thoughts, which I just talked about, you could just do all of this in a journal on your own, or if you'd like to save time by not having to rewind this video and duplicate the chart I've created, you can scroll down below to the description of this video and download my free worry monitoring log. This is basically the exact same chart that I showed you earlier in this video, and the exact same one that helped me when I was tackling my own anxiety issues, and I've provided a link to it in the format of a Google Doc in the description. All you have to do now is open this blank document and save a copy to your Google Drive so you can write down any worries you may be dealing with right now. And that brings an end to this video. If you found this helpful, then comment down below your story to add to the conversation, and let me know how my worry monitoring log worked for you, or be the first one to continue the conversation. Also, you'll definitely want to watch my video on some life lessons that you can learn from a young person with autism in the upper left corner of this screen. See ya!